Welcome. Please, can I let you know that we are recording, and I will say that a few times. We weren't quite sure how exactly this was going to work today because we've shared the link directly with digital leaders, and we suddenly had a little bit of a panic. Oh gosh, where are the questions and the Q&As? So we're hoping that you're here live in Google Meet and you can ask questions directly there. Okay, we are 1 minute past. I'm going to start. Welcome. My name is Jaki King, and I'm the founder and the CEO of If Everyone Cares CIC, and we work on things. So we run aDoddle.org, which is the UK's only network of connected area-based community maps. So welcome. I admit that I'm a little bit nervous today because talking AI, I work with AI on a daily basis now, but just in a normal, everyday human way. And I'm going to say that actually there's somebody here in this room, Nino, that you may want to connect with because Nino introduced me to using AI in a way that is human, in a way that works for me, no matter whether it's with my work or whether it's with my personal life, my home life, anything like that. So please do feel free to reach out to Nino. Sorry for doing that to you, Nino. But I've introduced myself. I'd like to introduce that also in the room here with us today is Amber Sheen. Now, Amber is my amazing support worker because I'm dyslexic, I'm autistic, and I've got ADHD. And that will probably explain the fact that at times when I show you what we've got on the agenda, I might flip from one thing to the next. And you also might see me bounce because I sit and I work on a yoga ball. Because when you have ADHD, it's good to be able to move. So welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. Let's get started. So AI, friend or foe, and using it intentionally without losing the human. Oh my goodness. Now, AI to start with was something that I thought was, gosh, maybe a little bit scary, a little bit out there. And then when it was introduced to me properly, rather than the scary stories that are out there on the news, I suddenly realized that in a way, it was an extension of, so when computers first came out and started being something that we could all use, and that sort of shows my age, there was something incredible called spell check when you used Microsoft Word. And as somebody who was dyslexic and not diagnosed till I was 32, I had always been ashamed of the fact that no matter how well I could write, I couldn't spell. And so I didn't do things because I was embarrassed about not being able to spell or not being able to read something or making a mess of something. And suddenly you could use a computer and it would correct your spelling, and it didn't show that you'd erased something or you'd crossed it out or made a mistake. You could literally work in real time. And what I would say is that AI is that next stage of being human and friendly and something that you can work with. If you set your intention right, yes, there are always going to be stories where you see people who are doing things with it that aren't good for humanity, that are just not right. But there are so many ways in which you can use AI on a daily basis that can help to improve your life, that can boost your confidence, that can boost your productivity, that can reduce the cognitive load if you've got disabilities in any way, shape or form. And I'm going to talk through some of those. So again, this is being recorded. If you have missed anything at the beginning, it is going to be there as a replay. We've basically just given a little bit of an overview and a typical ADHD me, a little bit of waffle. But let's move on to the next slide. Please note it's being recorded. Please feel free to ask questions through the Q&A throughout the call. Okay, then what we're going to do is when I finish, we can open up your mic if you want to raise your hand if you want to ask a question. So Amber is going to keep an eye on the questions that are typed into the box because of being dyslexic. That won't be me. She's going to read them out to me. If you want to make them anonymous, that's absolutely fine. Do ask anything. I don't mind being asked something. And if I don't know the answer, I will say to you. I will be very honest. And then at the end, if you want to ask questions, you can raise your hand and we can turn on your microphone for you so that you can ask. Okay, this is totally informal and I'm not going to be preaching. It's a practical session, not a deep dive. If you're expecting to hear something like, if you do this and code that and do that, that is not what you're going to get from me. But as I said, for those of you who have just come in, there is somebody else who is on this call today who is called Nino. Do look out for him. In the last 6 to 8 months, he has taught me so much about using AI in a human way. We're going to focus on real, everyday usage. I know that some of you have downloaded this, so it's going to be everyday AI in everyday community work, using AI as a thinking partner. Accessibility is huge for me with being dyslexic, autistic, and ADHD. Staying human while working at scale, and what works, what doesn't, and why it matters. And I'm going to say on that, what works, what doesn't, and why it matters is actually what's right for me may not be right for you. You have the permission to use AI in the way that works for you. Amber will share some links later on which talk about some of the different AI tools that we use. I'm not trying to sell you anything, okay? We're just giving you the actual links. We're not getting any kickbacks if you take out memberships, subscriptions, or whatever else is with them. Okay. AI, if we look in the news, what sells newspapers is when there's a story that's dramatic. It will tell you when AI has gone wrong, when AI has hallucinated, when somebody has used it in a way that's not for good, okay? And that, sadly, that's what sells papers. But this today is about how you can use it in a way that is so positive, that works, to improve your work, to give you more confidence, and all of those. It's about practical use and not perfect. You know, people say, oh, but AI is cheating. You know, you can go on, you can ask it to write an article, you can ask it to do this, that, or the other. Let me be very honest. I wrote an article the other day that I put on LinkedIn, and Amber can share the link. You can go and have a look. Now, I spent 3 hours with AI on that article. And this is where I'm going to give a little hint of accessibility. So for me, if I'm working one-to-one with Amber and Amber's helping me to do an article, I'm going to feel bad if she uses a word that doesn't quite fit with me and how it sounds. I don't want to sound as though I'm being picky or that I'm putting her down or that I'm being negative. And so sometimes I don't say things. But with AI, even though I am still incredibly polite, I say please and thank you, and I say sorry if I'm challenging it. And I do that deliberately because I think if people don't use their manners when they're using AI, they might start talking to human beings in the way. I don't treat AI as a machine. I treat AI as though it's a person and a member of the team. But I can go back to AI and I can say, that doesn't sound like me. I think we've missed something. That sounds negative. Can we reframe it? I don't like using the word but. Could you use however or yet? Because it's the tone that it's in. So AI, and I hope it comes across, is a tool and not a replacement. Okay, it's not a replacement of Amber, because I will go on to Amber when I'm happy with something and I will go to Amber and go, this is what I've come up with. What do you think? Can you help? Is there anything that I've missed? Is there anything? Because Amber is my support worker. So for those of you who didn't hear at the beginning, Amber is my support worker because of my disabilities. So I don't go to AI, or can you do this for me, and then just post it out there. That's just not the way it works. But I can tell you that this presentation here, and I have left the little stamp made with Gamma on there deliberately. I went into Gamma, which is an AI tool, and I said what we were doing today. And I said, can you help me? And in under 5 minutes with a conversation with it, it created version 1 of this, which we were then able to take. So Amber and I were then able to take into Canva, and we were able to make the tweaks and change the wording a little bit and do that. But I wanted you to show how this was an hour and a half at most work, which with the way that my brain works, this would have probably taken me at least a day to do before. It would have been something that I would have absolutely sweated over. I would have got very stressed. The cognitive load would have been huge. I would have been really worried. But because it created a first version for me, I had something to work with and to use. So AI is a tool and not a replacement. Okay, how do we use it? How do I use it? I use it for preparing for meetings. Now, I can honestly say that in the last 8 months, what using AI, and I use ChatGPT, and I have a paid account. I didn't initially, but then I kept hearing warnings from people, and I might not use the right terminology, but I kept hearing warnings from people. If you are using a free account, you cannot guarantee that everything that you're sharing with it and saying with it is going to stay private to you. It's not being used in their research for the AI and everything else. And the more I got comfortable with AI, I thought £20 a month is a really good investment, £5 a week. And what it gives me in confidence and saving time and producing something that is more professional is really, really helpful. It is the best investment I have made, apart from finding Amber during the pandemic when she started with me as a Kickstart trainee. Okay. Oh, and also finding Nino at an AI conference last year and seeing how he used it and creating assistants to help you. So before I go on to the next point that's on there, I want to say to you that one of the best things that Nino taught me was he created an assistant that helped me to then make an assistant to create a brand language and voice guide. Who is it? Who are we as an organization? Who is If Everyone Cares CIC? What is the project that we have with aDoddle.org or the community pledge? How do we want to come across? How do we sound? What are our values? What's important to us? What's the tone? What are some of the words that we do or don't use? And then add into that, adding a section about the guidelines, which also includes accessibility guidelines. How do I work? What do I need to be able to work in the best way? So I made a tiny little list down by the side to reduce that cognitive load when it becomes overwhelming with work. Things like, have you ever used AI and AI has put something together for you and it's put in bullet points? Well, they look like bullet points until you try and copy and paste it across into a Word document to work. And then you have to change all of the formatting and everything else. So by being able to say to AI, please, if you're using bullet points, I want you to use real bullet points. Because otherwise, if I'm copying and pasting something across, I've suddenly got to think the line spacing isn't right. The bullets aren't correct. I've got to move everything up. Actually, it's like one big long list. And if you move one bullet point, it goes back up into, oh, it's a palaver. It's not easy. Indents. With my dyslexia, I need everything to be left aligned in a box, never justified text. If there's a heading, now what's really funny is it's not on these little boxes here. If there's a heading, usually I have camel case, because that makes it easier for my brain to acknowledge that this is a heading to give me a description of this section that you're reading or you're looking at. Okay, that if you've got it in camel case, oh, for those who don't know what camel case is, it's the capital letter at the beginning of every word. Okay, so if you think it's a bit like the humps going up and down. Okay, so camel case. Okay. AI often uses something called EM dashes, which are big, but actually in the UK, we use EN dashes, which are the tiny little dashes. And for my dyslexic brain, using EN dashes works better for me. An EM dash tells me, oh, there's something wrong with the formatting, which takes my brain away from reading. Okay, now I know I am detracting or I am sidetracking here because we've got a whole bit on accessibility later on, which will probably just go straight through because I've covered lots of it here. Line spacing, what font is used, what color that font is. All of those things can really help. So researching complex topics. This is actually really important. So I'm going to give you a couple of live examples of things that I've done just in the last 2 days. We got approached by somebody who was putting in a tender for a piece of work, and they wanted to potentially do some work with us if they win that tender. So of course I used AI. I looked up the company. I then found out something that I had some questions about. So I asked AI, how can I broach this? How can I do this in the conversation? How can I feel confident about saying, I've seen this, but actually I would like to be able to address it. I don't want to hide behind things. I had that meeting yesterday, and actually because I'd had a conversation with ChatGPT and AI, and because it talks to me with my tone of voice and with my values, it gave me some suggestions. But actually, I didn't listen to those particular suggestions. When I came on the call, because I had a bit more confidence, I actually broached it straight up front and said, look, I've done my research. I've seen this. I'm a little bit concerned. Can you talk to me about it? They did, and we had the most amazing upfront conversation. But also I said how honesty was really important to me, and that if we did work together in the future, if ever they've got a problem, talk to me honestly. Don't hide it. Let's just be open and honest. Now, I can honestly say to you, had I not used AI to help me with that, I would have worried about it overnight before the call. I would have then been concerned on the call and everything else, but I'd already had a talking partner to go through. So that's one example. Working step by step, improving drafts. I've explained that I did that article, which you're welcome to have a look at. Again, I'm not trying to sell you anything. This is just how, it works. Tell it what you want to do. Get a first draft, then say, yes, that works. No, that doesn't. You can go back and you're not hurting its feelings. It's so much easier to work with it. So let's go to the next one. Otherwise, I'm going to waffle the whole time. Okay, so supporting accessibility and different ways of thinking. We've talked about reducing the cognitive load. This to me is absolutely hugely important, because whether you are like me, dyslexic, autistic, ADHD, or whether you have a long-term condition, maybe long COVID, maybe fibromyalgia, something that absolutely is energy, you get tired very quickly. If something is very tricky to do, if it is draining your cognitive load, then it's harder to do the piece of work. But if you can use your AI in a way that works effectively for you, you can reduce that cognitive load, and you are managing your time and your energy in a much better way. Okay, making clearer communications. I don't always know how to word things. Sometimes I am talking to somebody in civil society or an MP or somebody in big business. Now, the terminology that I use for that conversation is going to be very different to what we're doing here now. I'm just being me. You are seeing me, warts and all, okay? And I'm being totally honest and totally upfront for you, because that's how we can all learn together. Sometimes I almost needed somebody to give me permission to use it in the way I use it today. And I make no bones, I've mentioned his name already. Nino has given me permission to use AI in a way that works for me. He also showed me a whole load of shiny things that are so quite amazing that I want to go down the rabbit hole of doing them. But in the last 6 to 8 months, I have slowly learned, do what is right. Pick and choose which shiny things are right, because there's time and energy with that as well. Take it one step at a time and use it in the way that is right for you. There's no right or wrong. AI is a support, not a replacement. I can honestly tell you, AI cannot replace what Amber knows, what Amber can support me with on a day-by-day basis when we work together. So it really is a tool that extends your capacity. It's never a substitute for the way that you think uniquely, your empathy, your judgment, your values. And I can see a little things come up. Brainstorming. Oh my goodness, we put ideas to it all the time. Okay, staying human while working at scale. And this again goes back to me, the most important thing I think that any organization, business, social entrepreneur, whatever should do. Use AI to create your brand, voice, and language guide. Then you can save it as a PDF is a better than as a Word document or a Google Doc. Nina will probably tell you it'd be even better if it's a .txt file, but I sometimes, yeah, he's nodding his head. I can see him on the screen. So, but a PDF is quite a good one. You can then use that with anything in any conversation. Please remember, I am talking about this from having a paid account. If this is your business, you do not want to be putting anything out there if you are on a free account. You do need to be careful. Just have a paid account and keep it in-house. And I was being shown some amazing things the other day about skills and ChatGPT. I cannot wait to try it because I believe that the skills could take AI and ChatGPT to the next level. Okay. So keep your values consistent. Supporting everyday content. Oh my goodness, using it for, creating media posts and articles. So I can give you a real life example of using something. So I'm going to a 3-day event next week, which is down at the Eden Project, the Anthropy event. Okay, now next week is the 24th of March. So if you are watching this past then the event has gone. Okay. But I want to connect with people before going there. So I just had a conversation with ChatGPT. And one thing I haven't said, what I do is I talk to it via the microphone. I speak it. I can waffle. I can say as much as I want. You can speak for up to 10 minutes. If you go over 10 minutes, it stops recording. Then so you sort of lose what you've done. So make sure it's no more than 10 minutes. I speak to it. But then even though I'm dyslexic, because it's got to know me, it knows how to format the answers. I read the answers because then I can come back to it. Now, I know some people who get it to read the answers out to them. And that's really good. Do what works for you. And if you like typing it in, type it in. But find the way that works for you. Okay. So I did a post. And I put it on a couple of forums that I'm part of. So I'm a fellow of the RSA. I'm part of Social Enterprise UK, or a member of Social Enterprise UK. And I put a thing, who's going? And isn't it lovely to go to an event where they ask you to leave your egos and silos at the door? I have had some amazing connections from people who are going to the event. We've been able to look and work out when we're going to different sessions, when we might match sessions, and when we can meet. The best one that I got was from an amazing gentleman who is running a project, which is having a private round table session down at Anthropy. And I've been invited to go and join this session. Now, had I not used AI to help me with my wording and the way I formatted what I was putting, it's actually, I just saw a little thing that came up about this task paralysis. I can tell you a year ago, I would not have done that before going to an event. I wouldn't have had the courage and the confidence to do it. So AI has opened that up in a way that is, just second to none. I was just about to say to Amber that I've just seen two new people coming in. So AI, to me, has opened up the world, has opened up my work world as to what I'm able to do. Your lived experience stays central to whatever you do with AI. You have control of what you say to AI and what you don't say to AI. And if it answers and responds to you in a way that doesn't match your values, that isn't quite right, you have the ability to say to it, actually, you know what you said there? That doesn't quite fit with the way that I think. I think like this. I would use that word. I wouldn't use that because that's a bit dramatic. That's a bit negative. I would rather see the solution in something. So you have your ability to say that, and actually you're not offending it. You're definitely not offending it. As I said, I do say please, thank you, and sorry, because that's how I want to do it. So what works, what doesn't work, and why it matters. So acknowledge the limits of AI, the boundaries and the risks. Acknowledge the fact that AI can hallucinate at times. If a conversation has been going on too long, it can start to get very confused. And you know, you can say to it, I think that you might have meant this, or you've misinterpreted what I've said, or actually we did this a bit earlier and you said that, and I agree with that, but I don't agree with this. You have the ability to do that. Okay. Build your habits. So I've been building my habits with my AI, and I'll give you a few real life examples. So not only from work, but on personal life as to where it's helped and supported. In fact, yeah, let's go into that. I live in a shared ownership flat. And we've all seen on the news about the horrific stories about mold and damp. Okay. Because I'm shared ownership, I don't get any support with sorting that out. And even at about year 9 of living here, suddenly the mold was just unbelievable. And I was just like, how do I do this? I'm starting to feel like I'm living in a grubby home. It's not healthy. It's not whatever. I asked for some help with it through the housing association, and they're like, yeah, you're shared ownership. We're not doing anything. So last autumn, it got to the point it was too bad. And because I'd been involved in a minor car accident, I wasn't able any longer to reach and wash and clean. And I was just like, this is scary. So I used ChatGPT, and because I've got a paid account, I set up a project and a conversation over dealing with this to deal with the mold. And that conversation still goes on today. And it gave me some examples. You know, if you do this, if you do that, da, da, da. So anyway, yes, it's cost a bit of money to do. I got a PIV unit. I had the mold treated properly. I had the place redecorated and whatever else. This PIV unit is a unit that forces fresh air into the building and forces air to go round the property. And so it means that there are no corners where trapped air can go and moisture can build and the damp can go. But actually, when you live in a new build, it needs to be something very different. I'm in my 60s now, and what you did in an older house compared to a newer build is very different. So I talk to it every day, twice a day. And I talk and I explain what the weather's like and what's going on and what the readings are. I've got humidity readings, and I've been doing that. I've cured the problem. But now, this last few days, we are moving into a better time of the year when you want to have your windows open more. And it says just open them for like 10 to 15 minutes. And I go, no, I'm a human. I want fresh air. And it goes, okay, that's fine. And it talks to me about ways to do things and to manage it. Now, could you imagine if a housing association built an app, okay, that supported anybody who lived in their properties that had a struggle with damp, with mold, and actually they could talk to this app every day and talk about what the weather was like, what the situations were, where they were having problems. And this app could talk back as to how they could manage and maintain their property for them. Can you think about how much pressure that would take off? Just enabling people to have conversations, telling people, I didn't realize how much damp got held in furniture. I didn't realize that actually you don't always want to open your windows, because if the humidity outside is worse than the humidity inside, what you're doing is you're bringing more damp in. So, okay, so that's one example. Another example, how many people set, what is it at the beginning of the new year? New Year's resolutions. Okay, how many people set New Year's resolutions and they don't stick with them? So I created, because it taught me how to create assistants, I created an assistant that was my Jaki's anchor, so I could talk to it about different things and have real human conversations about what was going on in my life, how I was doing things. Because when you're ADHD, you can start a New Year's resolution and you can do it for 3 weeks. And then your routine changes for a day and you don't remember about it for another 3 months till a memory trigger comes along. But actually, if you've got a tool, an assistant that you built for you, you can go back to it. You can see, you can start that conversation. And if you have forgotten about it for 3 months, it doesn't go, well, where have you been? It goes, hi, nice to see you again. And you don't feel bad about it. So these are some of the simple practical tips. Right, save conversations. Did you know that you could have a conversation? And again, I'm talking about ChatGPT, but you might be using something different. You can have a conversation with it. And if it's a conversation you really want to save and you might find it difficult to find later on, take the URL at the top and save that somewhere in a document, in a text message to yourself or whatever else, or even bookmark it. You can come back to that same conversation and come back to it and use it again and again. And you just carry on the conversation exactly where you were. Even if it was a week, 6 months, a year, you can continue that conversation. So that's just a tiny little tip. It is collaborative. It is not cheating. AI is not cheating. You're not cutting somebody out of your job if you're using it in this way. I had Amber as a support worker before I started using AI. Amber has been with me since July 2020, started as a Kickstart trainee. Okay, so Amber's still here. I still need Amber. There are things that Amber knows that the AI will never know. You know, Amber knows me. Yeah. AI is just fabulous when I'm not working with Amber or I'm working on something with Amber and I'm just like, I don't know how to word it. I can't think, this isn't right. It helps in that way, shape or form. So collaborate with AI. Literally share your feedback with it. Tell it. Don't not tell it. Don't go away from the conversation you've just had with AI and go, well, that was stupid. That didn't get me. Tell it, because it will learn with you. And let me be very honest, I started using ChatGPT first, but as an organization, we have Google Workspace. So I have access to Gemini as part of our account. But honestly, ChatGPT knows me and I don't want to train up Gemini. I haven't got the time at the moment. And I feel guilty asking ChatGPT, can you give me some advice as to how I can train up Gemini quicker? I know it's only AI and I know that's silly, but that's just the way that I work. Sorry, if you see me looking off to the side, I've got 3 screens here. I'm not ignoring people. So this is time for questions, thoughts, and anything else. If there are any questions in the Q&A, Amber is going to go through them with me now. If not, you can either, we can invite you to come in and ask questions. If anybody is asking a question that they want us to stop the recording, then tell me and I will stop the recording. But otherwise, if you're happy to ask questions that go on the recording so other people might get insights from the questions that you ask, then fine. And if I don't know the answer to your question, I'm going to just tell you. So Amber, are there any questions in the Q&A?
Hello, hi Jackie, thank you. We've had some lovely chats back and forth in the chat where you've been talking there. Lots of people agreeing with the same uses that we use it for. Help the mental blocks in task paralysis. Joe uses it with written work and to brainstorm ideas, which is great. Paul, thank you as well. It's just been really helpful in the chat, which is he does something similar to what we do, Jackie, with obviously giving it a standard set of rules or instructions on how you want all your answers and your generations from AI to come through. Like you say, camel case, ask it to be more critical or be honest if it doesn't understand something, explain it in clear English, or like you're a 5-year-old. So yeah, so it's some great back and forth, but yeah, any other questions in the chat, guys? It'd be lovely to hear from you, or any other conversation points about how you use it, how you use AI.
Okay, so I'm going to pick up on a couple of those things. I think that there are some brilliant comments in there and my brain is already forgetting them and needs memory triggers and different bits and pieces. I've only talked about creating the language and the brand voice guide. But actually, some of the other things that I've been taught to do by Nino is creating an assistant that can help with creating articles, to create an assistant that helps with writing social media posts, for creating graphics. I haven't got to the top of that graphics one yet. Not with creating the assistant for it, but actually this ability to create assistants that are specifically there for certain elements of your work. So whether you're working in a business or whether you're working on your own or whatever that is, creating that ability so that when you go to that assistant, that is what you are focusing on. And it will ask you some startup questions that you've set up for it. You know, if it's a social media post, is this for LinkedIn? Is it for Instagram? Is it for whatever else? So that it knows how many characters you can use, how many hashtags or something like that that you can use. And you've already trained it with those guidelines. And I think that comment just now about the critical, I deliberately ask for critical feedback, but politely and respectfully. I deliberately ask it to challenge me with questions. Because that is what it's done, is some of the questions that it asks are so thought-provoking that it's a perspective that I haven't considered before. I feel that it is an educational tool. I have more confidence now in the work that I do. I mean, doing the article that Amber shared the link for earlier, I suddenly discovered things about that we were working that I take for granted as that is the normal and whatever else. I didn't realize that actually we'd been thinking about things outside the box and working with digitally and in a different way, and how much we'd been listening to people, and that it was based on lived experience, and I didn't realize we were doing things so differently to other people. And suddenly you think, oh, actually, yeah, we've been working on this for a while, but we've actually achieved quite a lot. Now, I don't mean that about ego in any way, shape or form. I'm not into egos and silos. But confidence and self-esteem, that's really cool. Right, Amber, did I by any chance hear a ping for a question or anything? I heard a ping just now and I wasn't sure.
Yeah, not necessarily a question, but Joe's letting us know that he uses Notebook LLM, which I know that we've used before, haven't we? And it is great. I think we were talking a little bit about how different AI tools have different strengths depending on what they're, or what you're wanting to use them for. So yeah, Notebook LLM is great for logging sources when doing in-depth research, or what did Joe say he uses it for? Helping to break down and understand documents. So yeah.
Right. Okay. I would say Notebook LLM. Oh my goodness, when I first discovered it, absolutely incredible. Did you know that you can put in your brand documents, you can put links to your website, you can put in information, you could put that voice and language guide in there, which is absolutely incredible. But it could create a podcast for you. It's an AI. It's not one that you're necessarily going to make public. I mean, I'm sure some people do, but it tells you about your company or your business in this podcast, where there are two AIs talking to each other. And you can actually join the conversation and interrupt it and ask it questions. What we learned when we did that, okay, was incredible. That there was one of our documents that we had that really did not explain properly what we did. And it could be misinterpreted. And the AI had misinterpreted it. So I was just like, oh my goodness, that's really scary. But what it did is it enabled us to go back into that document and refine how it was worded. Now, these were all documents that had been created prior to us helping to do things with AI. One of the things that we did recently was we've had our website up for, a while now, and we've got policies, terms and conditions, privacy policies, and all of that. And as a small organization, some of them we had help created because we're a CIC. We had some help through Trust Law, which is the most incredible. If you're a charity or CIC, please register with Trust Law for free pro bono support with legal matters. Absolutely incredible. But what I hadn't picked up is that Trust Law had called us If Everyone Cares Limited. We're not. We're If Everyone Cares CIC. Now, I put all of our policies one by one and worked with ChatGPT to actually update, and it picked up some of these things, and it picked up a nuance with something where the letter S wasn't on the end of a word. So it changed the whole nuance. They are these like little typos, these little things. We updated all of our policies, okay, all of them, going through it. Now, if I had been reading through, 5 pages of terms and conditions or privacy policy, that could be really difficult. But actually having something that goes through it and saying, we've done this once, So we use Simply Docs for some of our policies because they were standardized. There was one that we hadn't taken out the Simply Docs bit and changed it to us. I'd missed it being dyslexic. So I thought I'd checked and double checked and triple checked, but I hadn't. And this is where you can put these things through AI. But please remember, read it. Pass it by a human being as well. Okay. Izzy, I can just see that you're going. Thank you for joining us. The recording will be there. Thank you so much. Yeah. Any other comments?
Yeah, Joe's saying that if we haven't used Notebook LLM in a while, we should revisit it because they've done a lot of updates. What did he say? Video overviews, presentation slides, and infographics. Some are some of the newest and very impressive Notebook LLM features that I enjoy using. Yeah, maybe we should go and check it back out. It has been a little while, hasn't it, Jackie? We haven't revisited it for a little while.
It has been a while. Joe, I think we need a call. We need you on one of these, running the session and telling us about Notebook LLM. So yeah, I mean that genuinely. Are there any other questions? Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us today. And Amber, could you put my email there? So there's some key takeaways. AI is a practical tool, not a replacement for human judgment. Key. Use it intentionally. Reduce cognitive load and support accessibility. It's your values, your voice, and your lived experience that remain central. And thoughtful use is collaborative work. That's a tongue twister. Collaborative work worth doing. And please do feel free to get in contact. Also, Amber, I don't know if you can share it. So I've talked that we work in community mapping. Next week, on Tuesday, we are running our first community mapping, just a community chat. Let's just chat. It's not about just what we do. It's about we want to hear voices and opinions to do with community mapping. And we will be doing that on a new platform that we're testing called Ripley. So we'd be really interesting. It's quite a unique one where we used AI to create a background picture. So it's like we're going to be around a round table and you can come and join us there. So, please do. And actually, Amber, I think you might have shared Nino's LinkedIn. Please, anybody, I cannot speak highly enough about what I have learned from Nino and the fact he keeps the human in everything. But what is incredible about the times and the sessions that I spend with Nino, he has built an assistant already that helps me build the assistant that he thinks that I need to do that will help me with my work. So he's built an assistant to help me build an assistant. It's quite something that you need to sort of seeing is believing. Yeah, so he lives up to the AI wizard circle. Yeah, very definitely. But thank you for everybody for joining us today. I'm really grateful. This has been a live recording and we are now going to wait for the recording to come through, and it will then be there with digital leaders before the end of the afternoon, so that if you want to point anybody in the direction of watching it, then they can come back. If you've enjoyed it, please tell digital leaders in the chat or whatever else that you've enjoyed it on the digital leaders page. If there's anything that you think I could have done better, I am all to hear that. If there's anything that you don't think I've covered, I'm happy to do that. But we have been just human. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool.
Someone's
saying they like Google Meet. Yes, we're using Google Meet because the platform we were using suddenly decided they wanted to start charging us silly money. So we're in here, and that's why we want to test Ripley. But thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you everyone.
So grateful. Oh, I'm gonna stop the recording now. Oh, Amber, where do I go to stop my recording? Oh, I've lost my mouse. Oh, that's because it's on the screen. There you are. Recording.